Hey everyone, my name's Nathan Pay and welcome to Blu Ocean Crypto. In today's episode, we're going to be covering an introduction to Ragnarok Labyrinth NFT. I'm super excited about this one because a lot of us are already aware of Ragnarok from way back in the day with Ragnarok Online from the company called Gravity. And Gravity is actually the same company that makes this. So once again, we're seeing a popular title being created in the play-to-earn space as an NFT or crypto game, which is obviously going to help adoption. And I'm super interested in titles like this because they're already from companies that we know and love, and I'm really curious to see how they navigate this space. I'm also a personal big fan of Ragnarok. I used to play a lot when I was younger, and I've even played some of the idle games and more recent ones over the past couple years, so this is right up my alley. Let's dive right into it. So this is the first Ragnarok Online IP NFT game, which means it's owned by Gravity officially. It did just come out recently. You can get it on the Google Play and Apple App Store only if you're located in Southeast Asia. However, there are ways for North American and other people to play, and I'll be sure to do a getting started video next to help people with that. However, if you need any assistance, be sure to join our Discord. There is instructions there, and we'll be happy to help you. This is just an introduction, but if you're in Southeast Asia, you can go right to the Play Store or the Apple Store to get it. So just kind of moving along here, as I mentioned, it's the first official Ragnarok game which integrates play-to-earn and NFT elements. It's a mobile game with an idle MMORPG genre with the twist of Labyrinth Dungeon that has various levels of difficulty. You can challenge a variety of PvE and PvP modes, and there's even MVPs, bosses, and monsters. So moving along, there are 4 main jobs we've got: swordsman, mage, archer, and thief, depending on your playstyle. And there are quite a few different modes. There's a labyrinth, which is like a maze-style dungeon where there are collectibles, monsters, and enemies that you need to dodge. You have to collect these blue coins to unlock the boss fight, and it's actually pretty fun. You can also create a party so that you can play with your friends, but not in the traditional sense that you're both playing, but you can invite their character to help you level. Now, there are PvP and guild wars and ways to actually play with each other a little bit more closely later on, but for now, like I said, you can invite them to help you level in your party, almost like an NPC fashion. There's also real-time PvP. Just like the previous idle game, as you may know, there are daily limits. There are leaderboards, and usually there are really good rewards there. There are MVP boss fights, which have special card rewards, so that's something you want to make sure you do often when you're playing. There's also a ton of customization, thousands of costumes and epic gears. They do a really good job of making your character come to life based on how you want it to look like. It was the same in their other most recent idle game, but this one's pretty sweet too. You can exchange everything, so pretty much anything that you can pick up can be purchased from another player in their shop. There's kind of like a general area where people can go and set up their shops and sell whatever they've collected, which creates this market, which also makes sense for an NFT or crypto game. And that's pretty much it for the website. So, of course, the most important question to me, and for a lot of people, is what about the play-to-earn aspect? What's it look like? So it's really interesting what they're actually doing here. They're working with the OnBuff Eno platform, and I haven't been able to get this chart to load for quite a few days. I was hoping it would work for this video, but for this sake it's not, and that's okay. I just want to show you guys. So anyways, as you can see, I'm logged into my account here. It shows how many daily points we've earned from the game and shows my tokens. There's the Onit token, Ethereum, and Newton, but I'll explain what Newton is here in a second. It also shows the average price action of the on-buff token and the init token down here with Newton. So what does this all mean? Well, first, let's explain what the on-buff planet is. So, on-buff planets are based on the Inno platform, which are allowing you to do different things with the tokens. So when you play Ragnarok NFT, you're actually collecting these on-buff tokens in-game. These on-buff tokens can then be exchanged for Newton. The Newton can then be exchanged for Ethereum or other things. So I know that got a little bit confusing, so before we go on, why don't we take a look at exactly what that process is like. So in the game, I'm collecting these Labyrinth Point tokens, as you can see here, because my account's connected. I actually have a balance of 22,500 because I've already been playing the game. So I can swap a certain amount of those for Newton. Once the swap is done, there's another one that has to be made, which would be Newton into, and it doesn't show it here because I don't have the Newton, but it would be into Ethereum or back into OnBuff. And transferring it into Ethereum is essentially how you can get it out. So you get to go from the Labyrinth token to the Newton to Ethereum. So just kind of going back to the planets, now that you guys understand the process of being able to extract the tokens, I'll just show it one more time here. Labyrinth into the Newton, and then like I said, Newton into Ethereum. Or you could go Newton back into the OnBuff. Obviously, I recommend the Ethereum route if you're taking it out because it's the only way, and it's just going to be easier to deal with exchanges. I do like that they have it on the Ethereum network. However, even though obviously there is a concern with gas fees. I'm going to show you something here soon where they are addressing that, so that's definitely good news. But now that we've got that system kind of figured out, you've got the Labyrinth points you're earning in game, you could trade them for Newton, and then the Newton can be traded for Ethereum or back to OnBuff. Let's go back over here and take a look at this, the planet. So this is really cool. I thought this was unique and why I want to make sure I introduce it to you guys, because the way that it works is the Ragnarok Labyrinth NFT game is actually the first planet on their platform. So basically the idea is they're going to have all these different planets of these different games, and players who earn the tokens within the games can then change it for Newton and use that Newton within this planet ecosystem. Now, Newton is going to act as the governance token for all of these planets. You can use it also for trading NFTs, purchasing in-game items, yield farming, and more. So that makes me suspect that Newton is going to let you vote for updates or changes potentially in the Ragnarok game, which would be really cool. Coming down here kind of shows you what I was explaining to trade. You've got the on-buff points, which can be swapped for the planet tokens, which can then be swapped for cryptocurrency. So our example, we've got the Labyrinth points swapping for Newton, and then also that swapping into ETH. The fact that they use different names here is kind of confusing compared to the swap, but you can see that the names are practically the same and it follows that model that we discussed. And then coming down here, it shows, for example, the Newton token, the total supply, the contract address, and just like we've seen up there, it's 100% for their ecosystem, their staking, and yield farming. There's going to be pre-sales for new planets, bidding for NFTs, you can purchase in-game items, then there's the on-buff, which is the play-to-earn, and as I said, the on-buff is what's collected through the game. Talks about how it's the first official one, but also the first planet, so they plan to add many more games to this metaverse, you could almost call it. Ragnarok just happens to be the first one, and what I love about this is a lot of people already know the Ragnarok name. So this is once again allowing more people to be onboarded into this space and eased into it, and there's also quite a few exchanges where on it is listed. There's even a user guide that kind of goes through and explains how this all works. and there's a separate wallet app. There's also a marketplace here as well. Now the marketplace doesn't have any related Ragnarok stuff on there yet, but I still wanted to show you this because they had developed this first before the Ragnarok game even came along, and there are a lot of different collectibles that you can get here. And of course, I suspect they'll use this marketplace to facilitate the Ragnarok NFTs when they do come out. So they started with all these different collectibles and then moved into games. And you can see here there are new SNK ones coming up, which is pretty cool. And if anyone's familiar with that fighting game. So they also have their own marketplace and there is a roadmap. It's pretty extensive, so I'll just kind of go through this a little quicker. But you can see back when they started in Q1 2022, and then you can see here the Inno platform open, global collaboration, and they were talking about last year, things that happened. The roadmap's actually kind of backwards compared to how most projects listed, but that's okay. Now, this is one other thing that I wanted to spend a minute showing you guys, because the biggest complaint I noticed right away within the Ragnarok community was the fact that this is on the Ethereum mainnet, meaning there are gas fees. So the argument is, when you swap from the Labyrinth token to the Newton, you're paying a gas fee. And then when you swap from the Newton back to OnBuff or Ethereum, you're also paying a gas fee. So this makes the play-to-earn aspect not so attractive, meaning you're going to have to collect a lot of the currency before it's ever worth pulling out. So what they're doing is they're actually mentioning that they're going to be working on a solution. And I knew this the moment that ETH was an issue, because when the game first came out in their Discord, all their community was talking about is, oh, it's not worth it because of the gas fees. However, we already knew that there were layer 2 solutions and ways around this. So many games have figured it out doing just that. But it's nice to see that they're addressing it here. It shows that they're fully aware of the gas concerns and that they're considering various aspects to solve the problem, including launching the mainnet in the form of a bridge to swap tokens using different networks, or even using sidechains to reduce the gas fees of the Ethereum network. You could argue they could use things like Arbitrum or Immutable X, and there's lots of different options out there. And it says that they're concentrated on building a secure system for the user's experience and protecting the ecosystem from hacking and security issues, which is good that they mention that, because usually when you introduce a bridge, typically bridges are where the exploits and hacks happen. So as I mentioned, it's nice that they say, hey, we're looking at bridges, but the security is also super important. That shows me that they're up to speed in this space. They know the concerns that are going on with this, and that they're going to continue to give us updates as we go. Now, the second part though, is they're talking about NFTs. So they said that they're going to add different NFTs. Right now, there are just the Labyrinth points that you collect, that's it. You earn them through various activities in game, but it's cool to see that they're talking about how they're going to look at different ways that they can release NFTs, perhaps in multiple types of equipment, that they can be used in different ways as additional points you can earn, providing user convenience, and even empowering characters. Definitely going to be cool to see what they do here. Users will be able to purchase NFTs with the Newton token and plan on adding more utilities for Newton to the platform. They're building elements with widely open options. They're considering using commands and accepting feedback from the community, and also reflecting the market situation to make it more profitable for the users. And they said that they're going to let us know as soon as this is available. You know, obviously this is really new, but you're going to be able to use the NFTs on the marketplace that I showed you and trade them. You know, it's really interesting to see if such a popular title can successfully make a move like this. But I like their metaverse idea and how they have those planets, and you know, Ragnarok is the first planet, so it definitely seems promising. The Newton token is the governance token, but it's also going to be the governance token most likely for all the other planets, so it's really cool to see this. I like how transparent they are about what's going on and their processes. I know what the process is to convert and extract if I want to from the game, even though it's not recommended right now because of the gas fees until they implement a solution. But I mean, this is Ragnarok we're talking about, right? A lot of people I knew grew up with this game, me included, so I'm really excited to be able to introduce this all to you today. And in our next video, we're going to go over getting started because, like I said, there's a bit of a process if you're not in Southeast Asia. However, as I mentioned, you're definitely welcome to come join us in our Discord and we can help you out. But then we're also going to cover some gameplay and go over some basic tips when starting a character. Okay everyone, I hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification to stay up to date on all the great content that we have coming for you. And until next time, cheers.